March 1, Klaus Fuchs, British physicist who worked on the Manhattan Project, pleads guilty to passing nuclear secrets to the USSR. Recent archives confirm his guilt. Motivated by communist ideals to balance global power, he's sentenced to 14 years. His betrayal shocks the West, escalating Cold War fears. March 1 also, a gas explosion destroys a church in Beatrice, Nebraska, but no one's hurt. 15 choir members were miraculously delayed. Dubbed a miraculous, the story captivates America with its eerie timing. March 1 also, Chiang Kai-shek retakes presidency in Taiwan, cementing the nationalist government's exile after losing to communists. A key move in the Cold War, it defies Mao's China. March 3, U.S. House votes to grant Alaska statehood, a major step toward making it the 49th state. Alaskans cheer for full citizenship after years as a territory. Also, France and West Germany sign a treaty on the Saar region, easing post-war tensions and boosting economic ties in a step toward European unity. March 4, celebrations for nationalist Cahir Healy's election in Northern Ireland turned violent when supporters waved the banned Irish flag. Clashes with police and unionists highlight deep Catholic-Protestant divides in a tense post-war region. March 5, Greece holds its first post-Civil War elections, strengthening the monarchy but exposing deep divisions under Cold War Western oversight. March 6, under Shah Mohammad Reza's pro-Western monarchy, Iran recognizes Israel, a bold move as the second Muslim nation to do so. Trade begins despite Arab and religious opposition. March 7, U.S. House approves referendum for Hawaii statehood, advancing its path to become the 50th state. Hawaiians celebrate a step toward full citizenship and representation. March 9, Iraq passes law-stripping Jews of citizenship upon immigration, forcing thousands to flee to Israel and abandon homes, ending an ancient community amid rising tensions. Also, Timothy Evans is hanged in London for murders he didn't commit, a tragic injustice that exposes flaws in British justice and sparks reform. March 10, President Truman orders accelerated development of the hydrogen bomb, a superweapon dwarfing atomic bombs. The move intensifies the Cold War nuclear race against the Soviets. March 11, Czechoslovakia's hockey team is arrested at Prague airport, accused of planning to defect. Likely false charges silence national heroes, exposing communist paranoia in the Cold War. Also, Sicilian peasants riot against landlords demanding land reform amid poverty. Clashes with police spotlight Italy's post-war struggles. March 12, plane carrying Welsh rugby fans crashes near Llandow, Wales, killing 80 in the world's worst air disaster. Improper loading causes tragedy, shaking the nation. Also, Belgium's referendum backs King Leopold III's return by 58%, but regional splits collapse the government, fueling tensions. March 13, French sailor Henry Martin is arrested in Toulon for anti-war leaflets against the Indochina War. His harsh treatment sparks protests, exposing colonial tensions and communist crackdowns. March 14, Israel passes law seizing properties of Palestinians who fled in 1948, transferring lands to Jewish settlers. The move deepens displacement and fuels Middle East tensions. March 15, Soviet-backed World Peace Council launches Stockholm Appeal, urging a nuclear weapons ban. Millions sign, but the U.S. brands it propaganda, deepening Cold War rifts. March 18, Pierre Schaeffer pioneers the world's first electronic music concert in Paris at École Normale, using manipulated sounds. Musique concrète debuts, sparking an avant-garde musical revolution. March 20, Poland's communist regime seizes Catholic Church properties, stripping lands to curb its power. The move sparks clashes with believers, deepening tensions in a devout nation. March 21, Leon Turner's trial for murdering 3 black children in Mississippi grips the nation. All white jury's convictions mark rare racial justice, exposing Deep South tensions. March 23, Sakae Menda is sentenced to death in Japan for a double murder, wrongfully convicted after coerced confession. The injustice sparks future calls for reform. March 24, 90, Czechoslovaks hijacked 3 planes from Prague, Brno, and Bratislava, landing in West Germany to flee communism. The bold escape exposes regime oppression. March 25, South Korea launches land reform, redistributing farms from landlords to tenants. The move boosts rural life but alarms North Korea, escalating Cold War tensions. March 28, CDU politician Erwin Köhler is arrested in East Germany for opposing communism. Accused of espionage, he faces execution in 1951, exposing brutal regime repression. March 29, RCA demos color television in New York, a breakthrough using the NTSC standard. The vibrant display promises to transform entertainment in the consumer age. March 30th, North Korea's Kim Il-sung visits Moscow, securing Stalin's approval for a South Korea invasion, setting the stage for a looming Cold War conflict. March 31, Jordan's Prime Minister Tawfiq Abu al-Huda resigns, citing health and opposition to Israel talks, reflecting tensions after the 1948 war and West Bank annexation. In March 1950, the ENIAC, the world's first general-purpose electronic computer, achieved a groundbreaking feat by running the first successful numerical weather forecast program, marking the birth of computational meteorology. Developed by a team led by Jules Charney and John von Neumann at the Institute for Advanced Study in Princeton, this experiment simulated a 24-hour weather pattern over North America using a drastically simplified barotropic Model 1 that focused on a single atmospheric layer at about 5.5 kilometers altitude. It ignores complex factors like heat, humidity, terrain, and vertical air movements to make the calculations feasible. The ENIAC's limited power, capable of only about 5,000 additions per second with its 18,000 vacuum tubes consuming 150 kW of electricity, meant the simulation ran on a coarse 19x24 grid of data points, requiring constant manual interventions to correct numerical instabilities, and took a full 24 hours to produce results that could have been done manually in less time. Despite these constraints, the forecast accurately captured broad weather patterns, proving that machines could predict atmospheric changes through mathematics, a concept pioneered by Louis Fry Richardson in the 1920s, but previously impossible without computers. This humble beginning revolutionized meteorology, evolving into today's sophisticated global models powered by supercomputers that perform quintillions of operations per second, incorporating satellite data, AI for pattern recognition, and complex physics for hyper-accurate forecasts up to weeks ahead. ENIAC's legacy extends beyond weather. Its electronic computing principles underpin modern technologies like smartphones, AI systems, and even quantum simulations, transforming how we predict everything from storms to climate change. Also this month, Claude Shannon publishes a landmark paper on programming computers to play chess, a visionary leap for artificial intelligence. His Minimax algorithm, designed to evaluate the best moves by anticipating opponents' responses, and the Shannon number 10sec120s20 estimating the staggering complexity of possible chess games, set a theoretical foundation for computational decision-making. Though 1950s computers lacked the power to implement his ideas fully, they inspired decades of AI research, leading to IBM's Deep Blue defeating world champion Garry Kasparov in 1997 with advanced search techniques rooted in Shannon's work. His principles now drive modern AI, from chess engines like Stockfish to machine learning in robotics and strategy games, reshaping technology and human competition. Also, RCA demonstrates color television in New York, unveiling a prototype using the NTSC standard, which transmitted vibrant images by combining red, green, and blue signals compatible with black and white sets. This breakthrough, amid a rivalry with CBS's incompatible wheel system, faced FCC approval delays due to the Korean War and high costs, with the first commercial sets like RCA's CT100 industrialized in 1954 at $1,000. Popularization took off in the mid-1960s as prices dropped to $400 by 1967. NBC shifted to all-color programming in 1965-1966, and households adopted it rapidly, over 50% by 1972, transforming entertainment with immersive broadcasts. In March 1950, Hollywood's brightest stars gathered for the 22nd Academy Awards, held on March 23rd at the RKO Pantages Theater in Los Angeles. Hosted by actor Paul Douglas, this ceremony celebrated the best films of 1949 and marked a pivotal moment in cinema history, as it was the last year studios could vote for nominees before the process shifted entirely to Academy members. The night belonged to All the King's Men, a gripping political drama based on Robert Penn Warren's novel about a corrupt Southern politician. It took home the Oscar for Best Picture, beating out strong contenders like The Heiresses and A Letter to Three Wives. Broderick Crawford delivered a powerhouse performance as the ambitious Willie Stark, earning him the Best Actor award, his first and only Oscar, edging out legends like John Wayne for Sands of Iwo Jima's and Kirk Douglas in Champion. On the women's side, Olivia de Havilland shone brightly, winning Best Actress for her role as a vulnerable heiress in The Heiress. This was her second Oscar, solidifying her status as one of the era's leading ladies after triumphs over nominees including Deborah Kerr and Susan Hayward. Other standout moments included Mercedes McCambridge's debut Splash. She won Best Supporting Actress for her chilling portrayal in All the King's Men, making her one of the few actors to snag an Oscar in their first film role. Dean Jagger claimed Best Supporting Actor for his steady performance as a commanding officer in the war drama 12 O'Clock High. Joseph L. Mankiewicz triumphed as Best Director for the witty A Letter to Three Wives, foreshadowing his back-to-back wins in the coming years. Animation also had its moment in the spotlight, as the golden age of cartoons thrived. At the Oscars, Chuck Jones's For Sentimental Reasons, featuring the hopelessly romantic skunk Pepe Le Pew, won Best Animated Short, showcasing Warner Brothers' flair for blending humor and charm in a way that captivated audiences. This March 1950 was a vibrant moment for Hollywood, where live-action dramas and animated shorts alike captured post-war America's fascination with power, morality, and escapism. Broadcast on radio television coverage was still a few years off. The Oscars drew millions, shaping the cultural pulse of a nation. Across the Atlantic, a bold new voice emerged in the literary world with the publication of Le Grand Desfant, a provocative essay by the young French writer Roger Nimier. As a key figure in the emerging Hussard movement, a group of right-leaning, anti-conformist authors who favored style, irony, and individualism over ideological dogma, Nimier used this work to launch a sharp critique of the dominant literary trends in post-war France. At its core, the essay is a manifesto for a freer, more aesthetic approach to literature. Nimier famously recommends embracing certain defects as virtues, frivolity, discretion, modesty, debauchery, and a touch of age, without excess. He argues that true writing must grapple with despair, but ultimately overcome it, stating, "One must know how to despair. All great books are born from despair, but from despair that has been overcome." Through this lens, he champions a literature that delights in wit and elegance rather than serving political agendas. The critique at the heart of Le Grand Desfant targets the engaged literature championed by Jean-Paul Sartre and the existentialist left, which Nimier saw as overly moralistic and conformist. He rejects the idea that art must be tied to social or political commitment, instead advocating for a rebellious detachment that pokes fun at the seriousness of the era's intellectuals. Nimier also distances himself from fascism, grounding his views in a personal, ironic resistance to all forms of ideological extremism. This stance stirred controversy, positioning the Hussards as provocateurs who challenged the cultural establishment and paved the way for a more playful, skeptical wave in French writing. In essence, Nimier's essay wasn't just a rant, it was a call to reinvent literature in a world recovering from war, emphasizing personal freedom and artistic flair over collective preaching. It announced the rise of a generation unafraid to scandalize, influencing debates on the role of writers in society for years to come. At the École Normale de Musique in Paris, a revolutionary sound filled the air as Pierre Schaeffer, a visionary French engineer and composer, staged the world's first public concert of musique concrète. Using turntables and recorded sounds, strains, voices, and everyday objects, Schaeffer crafted compositions like Symphonie pour un homme seul, co-created with Pierre Henry, that defied traditional music. By manipulating these raw sounds, he treated them as sound objects, sculpting a new art form that broke free from melody and harmony, challenging listeners to rethink what music could be. This avant-garde event, though niche, sent ripples through the artistic world, laying the groundwork for a new era of sound experimentation. Schaeffer's radical ideas would later inspire a young Jean-Michel Jarre, who studied under him at the Groupe de Recherches Musicales in the 1960s. Jarre took the experimental spirit of musique concrète and transformed it into something vibrant and accessible, blending electronic textures with catchy melodies in albums like Oxygene. His work in the 1970s, powered by synthesizers, turned Schaeffer's once obscure concepts into global hits, proving that electronic music could captivate millions. This concert was a quiet spark for a revolution. While it puzzled many at the time, Schaeffer's innovations planted the seeds for electronic music to evolve from avant-garde curiosity to mainstream phenomenon, as later artists built on his vision to bring synthesized sounds to radio waves and dance floors worldwide. The world of European comics burst with creativity as Tintin magazine unveiled two landmark adventures. Hergé, the genius behind the adventures of Tintin, launched Destination Moon, sending Tintin, Captain Haddock, and Professor Calculus on a daring lunar mission. With its meticulous scientific detail and vibrant artwork, this story captured the era's dreams of space exploration, thrilling readers with a bold vision that predated the space race by a decade. At the same time, Edgar P. Jacobs, a titan of Franco-Belgian comics, debuted The Mystery of the Great Pyramid, the latest chapter in his Blake and Mortimer series. This gripping tale follows Professor Philip Mortimer to Cairo, unraveling secrets hidden in the Great Pyramid through an intricate blend of adventure, Egyptology, and suspense. Jacobs' meticulous art and erudite storytelling, paired with the return of the cunning villain Ulrich, elevated the genre, offering readers a sophisticated narrative that rivaled the best novels of the time. Both works, serialized side by side in Tintin magazine, showcased the golden age of bande dessinée at its peak. Hergé and Jacobs, collaborators and innovators, pushed the boundaries of storytelling and art, with Jacobs' detailed backgrounds enriching Destination Moon, while his own creation captivated audiences with its intellectual depth. These comics didn't just entertain, they inspired a generation, cementing Tintin magazine as a beacon of creativity and adventure. Karen Carpenter, born on the 2nd, would enchant the world as the soulful voice of the Carpenters, blending pop and heartache in timeless hits. Ken Robinson, born on the 4th, became a visionary educator, inspiring millions with his revolutionary ideas on creativity and learning. Bobby McFerrin, born on the 11th, brought joy through his eclectic voice, later immortalized by the global anthem, "Don't Worry, Be Happy." Robert Brandom, born on the 13th, emerged as a leading philosopher, reshaping how we understand language and meaning. Charles Krauthammer, also born on the 13th, would captivate audiences as a sharp-witted political commentator and Pulitzer Prize winner. Brad Dourif, born on the 18th, delivered unforgettable performances, from chilling villains to heartfelt roles in film and theater. William Hurt, born on the 20th, became an Oscar-winning actor, known for his intense and nuanced portrayals in Kiss of the Spider-Woman. Sergei Lavrov, born on the 21st, rose to prominence as Russia's steadfast foreign minister, shaping global diplomacy for decades. Teddy Pendergrass, born on the 26th, electrified soul music with his powerful voice, leaving a lasting legacy in R&B. Martin Short, also born on the 26th, charmed audiences with his comedic genius in Saturday Night Live and iconic film roles. Alan Silvestri, born on the 26th, crafted unforgettable film scores, bringing magic to Back to the Future and Forrest Gump. Tony Banks, born on the 27th, defined progressive rock as the keyboardist of Genesis, creating sonic landscapes that inspired generations. Maria Uwe, also born on the 27th, captivated opera stages with her dramatic soprano voice and commanding presence. Morikante, born on the 29th, blended African rhythms with global pop, achieving worldwide fame with his hit, Yeke Yeke. Robbie Coltrane, born on the 30th, became a beloved actor, forever cherished as Hagrid in the Harry Potter series. Edgar Rice Burroughs, passing on the 19th, was a literary giant whose creation of Tarzan and John Carter of Mars redefined adventure storytelling. Born in 1875, he crafted over 80 novels, blending jungle escapades and interplanetary odysseys that captivated readers worldwide. His Tarzan series, translated into over 50 languages, spawned films, comics, radio shows, and television series, embedding the vine-swinging hero in global pop culture. Burroughs' vivid imagination also birthed the science fiction epic A Princess of Mars, inspiring generations of writers and filmmakers from Ray Bradbury to James Cameron. His death at 74 in Encino, California, marked the end of an era, but his stories of heroism and exploration continue to thrill audiences, cementing his legacy as a pioneer of modern genre fiction. Alexandru Vaida, Voievod, also departing on the 19th, was a towering figure in Romanian politics, instrumental in shaping the nation's modern identity. Born in 1872, he played a pivotal role in the 1918 Union of Transylvania with Romania, advocating for Romanian rights under Austro-Hungarian rule. As a three-time prime minister between 1919 and 1933, he navigated turbulent times, promoting economic reforms and national unity despite political strife. A leader of the National Peasants' Party, his diplomatic skills earned respect, but also enemies in a polarized era. Dying at 78 in Sibiu, his passing closed a chapter for Romania, but his vision for a united nation endures as a cornerstone of its history. Emmanuel Mounier, gone on the 22nd, was a French philosopher whose personalism movement left a lasting mark on post-war thought. Born in 1905, he founded the journal Esprit in 1932, championing a philosophy that blended Christian ethics with social justice, rejecting both capitalism's individualism and communism's collectivism. His ideas inspired intellectuals and activists, emphasizing human dignity and community in a world scarred by war. Mounier's writings, like Le Personnalisme, influenced Catholic social movements and European political thought, shaping debates on morality and society. His untimely death at 44 in Châtenay-Malabry left a void, but his call for a humane society continues to resonate in philosophical circles. Léon Blum, departing on the 30th, was a French socialist icon whose leadership defined a generation of progressive politics. Born in 1872, he became France's first Jewish prime minister, leading the Popular Front government in 1936-37, which introduced landmark reforms like the 40-hour work week and paid vacations. A staunch advocate for social justice, Blum faced fierce opposition, including anti-Semitic attacks, yet remained a symbol of resilience. Imprisoned by the Vichy regime during World War II, he defied fascism with unwavering courage, later returning to politics post-war. His death at 77 in Joey and Josas marked the loss of a moral compass, but his legacy as a champion of workers' rights and democratic values endures in France and beyond.